So here's the raw, honest truth, right? The franchise disclosure document is supposed to protect you. It's a 100+ page legal document designed to give you all the information you need before you invest your life savings into a franchise. But the raw truth, like I promised, is most of what matters isn't even in that document. And if you don't know what to ask, you could be buying into a failing system, no matter how good it looks on paper and no matter how much you like that brand. So I'm Karam, I'm the 20-year battle-tested lawyer, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I've represented business owners in litigation, and I've advised entrepreneurs in over $1 billion worth of deals, and I've worked with franchisees exploring franchises and other opportunities. I've looked at the documents, I've been involved in litigation, and nobody's really truly honest with the value of their business. And most aspiring franchisees don't know what questions to ask, so they miss the red flags until it's too late. So today, I'm going to show you the 3 most common deceptions franchisors use, even with a fully compliant FDD, and the exact questions you need to ask to try to expose the truth before you sign the deal, because a lot of franchisees regret that they got involved with that franchisor, and I don't want you to be one of them. So before we dive into the 3 real bad deceptions, you need to understand something very important. The FDD is a disclosure document, not a truth-telling document, and there's a big difference. It discloses what the law requires, and only what the law requires usually, but there's a lot more that it doesn't tell you. For example, the FDD won't tell you if the franchisor is strategically letting franchisees fail, because their business model depends on selling new franchises, not supporting existing ones. And I tell franchisees all the time that franchisors' interests may not be in line with them. The FDD also won't tell you if a franchisor is in financial distress, unless it's severe enough to trigger disclosure requirements. And it won't tell you the real reasons that franchisees are actually leaving the system. It just gives you a list of names, but it won't tell you if the successful locations in item 19 actually closed 6 months after the data was reported. You got to make the phone calls and do the due diligence. So here's the key insight. Franchisors know exactly what they're legally required to disclose, and they know exactly what they can leave out of the FDD, and then it becomes up to you to figure it all out. They use compliance as a shield, and that's what they should do. They say it's all in the FDD, knowing most people won't even read it carefully and won't know what's actually missing. So let's talk about the 3 biggest deceptions that have caused franchisors to really regret buying that franchise. All right, let's talk about deception number 1, that average sales does not really equal real franchisee profitability. So this is the most common and most dangerous deception. Don't fall for the trick. So here's how it works. You look at item 19 of the FDD. That's the financial performance representation. Sometimes it's not in there, but this is where the franchisor can disclose earnings data. And if you see something like average gross sales is $850,000 per year, you think, wow, if I do $850K in sales, I'm going to be making great money. But here's what they're not telling you, and here's what you got to figure out, and you really got to do it as a business owner. Gross sales are not profit. Gross sales are total revenue. Before you pay for anything, before rent, before payroll, before inventory, before the royalties that you got to pay the franchisor, before the marketing fees that you got to pay them as well. So let me show you how the numbers can really break down, and you're not going to like it. So let's say food franchise shows an average gross sales of $1.2 million in item 19. Sounds great. It could be, but it might not be. So here's what the actual P&L looks like once you start operating. Gross sales, $1.2 million. Let's say the cost of goods sold, food supplies, is $400,000. The rent's $120K. Payroll's $350K for the year. Royalty fees, 6%. Marketing fees, 2%. Utilities, insurance, equipment, maintenance, $80,000 a year. Total expenses, $1,046,000. Net profit before owner salary, $154K. And that's if everything goes perfectly, right? No slow months, no equipment breakdowns, no employee turnover, and the franchisee worked 70 hours a week as well, managing the store. It doesn't sound like that much fun anymore. So they made $154K for working a full-time job, plus they invested $400,000 up front to open the location. Is that a good investment? Now, that's not the picture that the FDD painted. So why is this illegal but it's deceptive. It's because the FDD does not require franchisors to disclose net profit. They only have to disclose what they choose to disclose in item 19, and most choose to show gross sales because it looks much more impressive. So what are you going to ask? Don't just ask what are the average sales. Ask it a little more in detail. Can you provide the full breakdown of fixed expenses, royalty fees, labor costs, and average net income across all franchisees? Not just the top performers. Don't let them just cherry pick. And if they won't give you that data, I think that's a red flag. You have to also ask the current franchisees directly. After all expenses and fees, what's your actual take-home pay? And how many hours a week do you work? Do you really want to work like a dog? Because you probably will. And one thing I'll bet is you'll get very different answers than what the sales pitch promised. Now, deception number 2 is validation calls with only cherry-picked franchisees. And this one's really sneaky. And it works because it feels like you're doing due diligence and it feels like you're really getting honest answers. So let me explain to you how it really works. Now, the franchisor says, we want you to talk to some of our franchisees so you can hear directly from them about their experience. Now that sounds great. You're going to be talking directly to the franchisee, but you're going to be getting unfiltered feedback from real owners. But the truth is this, you're not really talking to a random franchisee. You're talking to the franchisees that the franchisor handpicked to talk to you and to talk for you. Like, these are the happy ones. These are going to be the successful ones, the ones who will say exactly what the franchisor wants them to say because they're happy. And that may not be the rest of them. So what you're not going to hear from are the franchisees who are actually struggling. The franchisees who really regret buying the franchise. Those are the ones you really want to talk to. The franchisees who are in litigation with the franchisor, you're probably not going to talk to them. And the franchisees who left the system. So here's the thing, the franchisor knows exactly who to put you in touch with. And in the franchise industry, some franchisors maintain what's internally called a validation list. That's a curated list of franchisees who are trained to handle these calls. And they're trained to give positive feedback because it's in the franchisor's best interest. So some even offer incentives like waiving fees or giving marketing credits to franchisees who participate in validation calls. So that's deceptive. And I think it's obvious why. You think that you're getting an honest opinion, but in reality, you're getting a sales pitch. This disguised as pure feedback, and they're not completely transparent with it. So what should you do? You should ask the franchisor this specific question. Can you provide a list of all franchisees who left the system in the last 3 years, along with the reason why they left the system and any contact information they may have left? Now, the FDD lists franchisees who left in the last fiscal year, right? That's item 20. But you want a longer history. You need to explore a little longer. And if they refuse, then ask why. So number 2 is use LinkedIn or other resources to find former franchisees. Look all over the internet. Most people can't hide stuff anymore. Look for people whose profiles show that they used to own a franchise, but they don't anymore. Cold call them, right? Say, hey, I'm considering buying a Midas franchise, a McDonald's franchise, what have you. I saw that you used to own one. Would you be willing to share your experience? You never know. You never know. Some people want to tell you their story and it'll be authentic usually, hopefully. So step 3 is look for patterns in the FDD. So go to item 20 and look at the franchisee turnover data. If the number of franchisees who were terminated, didn't renew, or ceased operations is high compared to the total number of franchises, that's a red flag. For example, if there are 200 total franchises and 40 left the system last year, that's a 20% churn rate. So that's terrible. Ask yourself, why are there so many people leaving? And try to go find those people and try to figure it out. Deception number 3, rapid growth. Franchisors hiding high churn because they want rapid growth. This is the one that gets the people the most excited and costs them the most money, and it's sneaky. It's really sneaky. Here's how it works. The franchisor says, we're the fastest growing franchise in America. You hear that a lot. It creates urgency. We opened 300 locations in the last 2 years. You see the growth. You see the momentum. You think, I want to get in on this. I want a territory, and I want to get in on this before it's too late. So here's what they're not telling you. How many of these 300 locations are actually still open? Some franchisors operate what I call a churn and burn business model, and you don't want to get involved with that, and it's really ugly. They make money by selling franchises. That's how they make their money, not by supporting franchises. So here's how it works. They sell a franchise to you for $50,000 up front. The franchise opens, struggles, and closes within 18 months. The franchisor takes back the territory, and they got paid. So they sell the same territory to a new franchisee for another $50,000. Repeat, right? The franchisor makes money on every single sale. They don't care if the franchisee actually succeeds. So how to spot this? Look at item 20 of the FDD again. You want to compare how many franchises opened last year, and then how many closed, were terminated, or didn't get renewed. Then you just do the math. If a franchisor opened 100 new locations last year, but 60 locations closed, that's a 60% failure rate. That means that the growth is fake. They're just replacing failed franchises with new ones, and the franchisor keeps getting his fee. So you got to really ask the question, how many franchisees have transferred ownership, sold back their franchise to the company, or closed their location in the last couple years, and what percentage does that represent compared to your total units? And if they say, well, we don't really track that, that's a lie. They have to track it. They absolutely do track it. It's in the FDD. And if they dodge the question, I'd really walk away. That's a red flag. You should also ask what percentage of your revenue comes from initial franchise fees versus ongoing royalties. That'll tell you a lot, because if most of their revenue comes from selling new franchises rather than from royalties from existing franchisees, then that tells you that their business model is to sell franchises, not to make franchisees successful. And as sad as that sounds, that's really reality. That's a massive red flag. And here's a bonus way they deceive you. Let's talk about the territory deception. Let me give you one more, because this catches people all the time. The franchisor will say, you'll have an exclusive territory. No one else can operate in your area. And you're like, wow, that's great. I'm protected, no competitors, I'm locked in. But then you read the fine print in the FDD and you see this. The franchisor reserves the right to sell products or services through alternative channels of distribution, including but not limited to online sales, third-party delivery platforms, grocery stores, wholesale accounts, and corporate partnerships within franchisee territory. Your exclusive territory isn't really exclusive. The franchisor can sell on DoorDash, Uber Eats, Amazon, and grocery stores through corporate accounts, all in your territory, and you get nothing. You're paying rent, payroll, royalties to operate a physical location, while the franchisor competes against you online in your own backyard. Now, that doesn't sound that great for your business anymore. So what do you gotta ask? You gotta ask, what rights does the franchisor reserve within my exclusive territory? Can you sell through third-party delivery, online, or other channels in my area? And if the answer is yes, your territory protection is pretty worthless. So at the end of the day, here's what you really have to remember. The FDD is just the beginning, and it's not the whole story. Franchisors use compliance as a shield. They disclose what they're required to disclose and really nothing more, and they hide behind what they're allowed to omit. And nobody wants to tell the honest truth about their business. Don't confuse compliance with transparency. You have to ask the hard questions. You have to talk to franchisees who left. You have to do the math on profitability yourself. It's all on you. You're not buying a brand, you're buying a system. And if that system is broken, you inherit its problems. And the franchisor is not showing you the ugliness of the business, only the good stuff. And that's why I built the Legally Bulletproof Academy, the only business defense system for entrepreneurs. It's to help you see the mistakes, the liabilities, and the enemies that take down entrepreneurs. And if you want to learn whether or not your business might be exposed to legal risks, then I have an offer for you. I have a free risk report. This is a $7,500 legal strategy review that I do one-on-one with mastermind clients, but I'm willing to do it for you for free. It's powered by AI. All you have to do is answer some questions about your business, and it'll give you a report as to where your business might be vulnerable to enemies, to mistakes, and to other vulnerabilities that are all part of my system, and I'll show you how to prevent them with a business defense plan. You'll actually get a plan with some recommendations on how to fix your gaps, fix your vulnerabilities, and how to get you one step closer to becoming legally bulletproof. So if you like this video, smash the like button, click below, get your risk report, get your business defense plan. I'm Karam, the battle-tested lawyer, and I want you to get legally bulletproof.